Hello, everyone. I hope that you are doing amazing wherever you are in the world. My name is Boom Shikha, and I welcome you to my channel. As always, I'm so grateful that you're listening, subscribing, and commenting. I really appreciate the support. And in this one, I wanted to speak to you about a novel that I'm currently writing that is related to the pandemic and that I'm having such a lot of fun writing, that I'm having so much joy writing, and I'm sharing it for free on Wattpad. I think I've shared it with you guys already. It's called Love in the Time of Pandemic. It's obviously a play on the book written by Gabriel Marquez. Uh, Gabriel Garcia Marquez, I believe, is the full name. It's called Love in the Time of Cholera. Now, of course, it's a very different book that I'm writing and a much lower level book. Love in the Time of Cholera was a brilliant, brilliant book, but I wanted to use the same kind of wording and the same kind of play on words. And so I wanted to share with you what the book is about, why I'm writing it, and what my intentions were, or what was the reason why I started writing a book about love in the time of pandemic. Because in general, if you think about it, love isn't something that you think about when you're thinking about a pandemic. In fact, that's the furthest everything that you would think about when you think about a pandemic, I think. A lot of people assume, and I think I assume this as well, which I think is a false assumption. But I assume that when people are in panic mode, when they are in a time of strife, when they're in a time of confusion or war, rebellion, revolution, when there's a lot going on in the world, which I think right now is a pretty good indication of that kind of time. We're not completely in a world war situation, so we're not in a time where the Nazis were there and like concentration camps were going on and there's a terrible time to be alive. We're not there, obviously. But there's a lot of things going on right now where it feels like you wake up every day and you're like, all right, hit me with what's going on today. Okay, tell me what's going to happen today, because I'm really literally waking up every day and thinking, okay, what new thing is going to be happening today? What new thing is going to come and ruin 2020 for all of us, right? Or change 2020, if you want to call it, or transform us. But so, a lot of us do not think that when we are going to be in this time of strife or this time of constant change or revolution, we don't think that it's going to include any kind of love or any kind of familiar relationships or anything like that. We imagine that when we are in that kind of zombie apocalypse situation, we're just going to be fighting for our lives, and we're going to be fighting for foods or resources or water or clean drinking water or air. That's it. That's all we're going to be doing. That's all we're going to be thinking about. We're just going to be enamored and ingrained into the fight. And that's all that we're going to be doing. In fact, though, as you guys know, and I know you know this because you've read books, I'm sure that are dystopian. And in every dystopian novel, even though the world is kind of falling apart and they are completely pummeled to the ground and they're being controlled by Big Brother, there's still a possibility that they fall in love, a high possibility that they're able to fall in love and they're still able to be human in that moment. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I think what we imagine is that we're going to become like automatons or like robots when something terrible is happening in the world, right? Oh my God, the world is ending and asteroids hit the world and ice ages happen and everything's dead and there's only a few people that are alive. And we imagine that in that fight to be alive, in order to survive, we're just going to forget about everything that makes us human, right? I mean, we're going to eat enough food and we're going to sleep and we're going to fight. And that's it, we think is going to happen. But it's been proven over and over again throughout history, if you believe it, if you've seen it at least. And from books as well, like Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl or Anne Frank's Diary, The Diary of Anne Frank. If you look at all these books where they were in extremely tumultuous, extremely chaotic situations, but they were still able to maintain their humanity. In fact, a lot of them were able to go beyond their humanity and be amazing, beautiful, creative beings, right? I mean, Viktor Frankl, if you've read his book, Man's Search for Meaning, he wrote that book on the back of toilet paper or pieces of toilet paper or random pieces of paper that he found. And he talked about what it was like to be in a concentration camp, of course, but also about the humanness of it and about going past the torture and the madness and the terrible time that he had in the concentration camp and how people kind of go beyond it and are able to see beyond the pain to kind of find the other essence of themselves, right? And again, the same thing with Diary of Anne Frank. You look at it or you read the book and you feel like, yeah, of course she was going through such a terrible time, but there was just so much beauty that she was able to still experience. She was able to still maintain her humanness, her humanity, her love for the world, her love for people. She was still able to maintain her kindness and generosity of spirit, so there's so much beauty in that. And I don't think I'll be able to reach that level of writing with my book, but I wanted to capture that essence of love, right? And how even in the time of pandemics, even when the entire universe is falling apart and there's war and a lack of food or starvation or concentration camps or internment camps or everything is just happening all at once. Even then you'll notice that human beings kind of go back to the essence of what they are, which is love. They always go back to falling in love, being around people that they love, being kind to the people that they are around, being good as much as possible or trying to be good, and then taking care of each other, forming a community, supporting each other, and all of that great stuff that happens and is still happening right now. And you'll see it, even though there's a lot of stuff happening, there's still a lot of goodness in the world. There's still a lot of good, kind, beautiful, loving people on the planet doing their best, right? And so that's what I want to kind of capture through my novel. It's love in the time of pandemic, and of course, there's a pandemic going on in the book, and there are people who are in this camp, a rebel camp, and they've been kind of isolated from the rest of the world because of the situation that's going on. There's war that might be happening soon, and people are being killed because they're worried that people are spreading this pandemic. There's a lot happening, but I'm just focusing on the love aspect of it or the relationship aspect of it, where I'm just focusing on the people in the camp and how they're able to form bonds with each other and they're able to support each other through this difficult time and still show their humanity, still show their humanness, their goodness. And of course, I mean, there's a little bit of sex and all that stuff, which obviously I think never leaves us, no matter what's going on in the world. And there's love and there's support and there's gratitude. And so I just wanted to kind of share that in the book. And I thought I'd share it with you because I think a lot of times what happens to me is that I write the book and I have all these thoughts in my head about why I'm writing the book. And so I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, all right, I'm writing this book. I want to write this book. I really want to write this book because of these reasons. And I want to share this part of me that really wants to be expressed. And right now I'm expressing love through this book, the love for humanity, love for this world and all that. Even though sometimes I don't feel it, I hate humanity and then I love it. Even through that, I want to express it. I want to express this love that I have for humanity, for the world in general, through this book, right? And so I think that's what I was missing until now, is that I write these books in isolation, of course, which is fine. But then I'm not able to share the thought processes that were going on in my head while I was writing the book. And so I really am going to try in the future as much as possible to kind of include you guys, if you're interested, in the process, in the journey, where I sit down and all of a sudden I'm like, I really like this idea for this, what I want to write. And I'm going to write it because of this, right? And it just kind of comes randomly to me. Even this book, I moved back home. I think that's when I started writing it. So 2.5 months ago, as I moved back home, and I was like, there's a pandemic going on, but I felt so much love from my family and from the people around me and my friends. And I was like, there's still love in this time. There's still beautiful emotions during this time. And so I wanted to share that love during the time of pandemic, and I decided to write this book because of that and because of other things that are happening as well. And so I decided, all right, let's do this. Let's share the emotions and the feelings and the ideas that I kind of come up with and why do I write about them, right? And so I hope this makes sense to you why I decided to write this book. A lot of you are going to read the book and maybe you won't jive with it. That's absolutely fine. But if you think that this is something that you might be interested in, please go to Wattpad, WATTPAD. The link for the book will be in the description below. So you can just click that and then go on to Wattpad and read the book. It's for free, absolutely free. And I'm going to post the whole book for free on there. So I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm going to put the first 10 chapters and then you're going to have to pay. I'll put the whole thing on there for free. It's fine. And I really wanted to share this with you because I thought that I could kind of transmit that through the book that I'm writing, the emotions that I've been feeling while I was writing the book. But perhaps that's not enough. And for myself as well, why did I write this book? I want to remember this feeling that I had about love and community and support while writing the book. You know, I really wanted to share that with myself, my future self. Maybe when I'm 65 and I'll be watching this video, I'll be like, oh, so that's the reason I wrote this crazy book. And so this is why I wanted to do this. I hope that it made sense to you. If you like the idea of the book, go check it out. If you think that I'm absolutely crazy, then ignore the video, please, and then go on to do something else. Absolutely fine as well. Again, I'm so grateful that you're supporting me on this journey. I really appreciate your support, your generosity, your kindness, and I shall see you the next time around. Bye for now.